l'administration. It's great to hear, and there's a prompt. You've all just got a prompt that for posterity and for the benefit of those who cannot attend. We're going to be recording the proceedings and having that as part of our register and our registry going forward. So possibly the recording will have missed my working through a very complex verb structure with nous sommes ravis que vous ayez pu vous joindre à nous. I always appreciate the French language even more when saying something that seems otherwise relatively easier, but wonderful. So I want to, and I see more joining. So I do want to welcome you all and call the AGM to order. Just before we get to the formal review of the agenda, I'll do a land acknowledgement, and then we'll get into the formal proceedings. I note that we're up to 20-ish people plus, so I don't know that we'll necessarily do a formal roundtable, but I would ask that if you have either questions in the chat or if you wish to ask questions at any point, please identify yourself and your organization, and that would be quite helpful. And so I do want to acknowledge that St. Mary's Home, the service area, is located on the traditional unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. The Algonquin people have inhabited and cared for these lands long before today, and we take this time to show our gratitude and respect to them and to the land for all that it provides us, be it trees that give us shade, water and food that sustain us, and paths that connect us. And indeed, there would not be an Ottawa or a settlement here if it weren't for, and probably, in fact, rivers that connected many people for time immemorial, and making Ottawa a natural place for all kinds of great things, including holding today's annual general meeting. So I do just want to keep us focused on that particular acknowledgement. And again, I'm just quickly going. There we go, Leslie. We're now. So the quorum, just again, before we get into the agenda, just I'm mindful that our quorum for St. Mary's Home is a majority of members. We and I'll say unfortunately have at this point, although they're wonderful members, 6 members in good standing. So therefore 4 members will constitute quorum, and I can report that we have 5 members present. So therefore quorum is met. I'll be speaking a little later about the importance of spreading the work and effort by fully fulfilling our target of 12 board members, but we've got an item for that later in the agenda. And as I'd mentioned, I regret to inform that our interim treasurer, Cheryl Fillion, is attending to an urgent matter and can't participate today. And so now I know that the agenda, I don't know if it had yet been sent out, but I know we were going to be sharing it, or at least projecting it. So if we could, that's wonderful. Thank you. So for today, looking to be as expedient as we can, but focusing on some important items, and you'll see there the numbered items and also the topic, the leads, the allotted time, and a suggested start time to keep us on track. You'll see the use of capital letter M, which denotes a formal motion. That's to help the chair and hopefully help others remind the chair if I forget these things. And it'll be my honor and pleasure to be chairing the meeting today. So you'll see we have standard elements there in terms of call to order. We'll do a motion for the agenda, look at minutes. We've got a wonderful long service award coming up today. Of course, a necessary component of presentation of our audited financial statements, and very pleased to see, and I'll be introducing Jordan, be presenting that. We'll have, with Jordan not here, approval of our auditor for the subsequent financial year. Then we have our executive director's report. I'll be presenting my report, and we'll have some important thank yous for outgoing board members, and a presentation of the slate and a motion on the slate, and then adjournment. So any substantive items that anybody feels might need to be added to the agenda, and certainly, and if so, we'll try to use our. I'm more used to Teams, so I'm used to saying the golden hand. But we do have for us wayfinding. We do have capacity down on the reactions button down on the bottom menu to either give a thumbs up or to signal some laughter if indeed levity breaks out. But also an important one to be able to raise your hand, and then that'll help keep track of things if we do have a flurry. And of course, old school arm waving will help, but I can't see everybody at the same time on the screen, so that may just make you more tired without achieving the intended outcome. So with that, with regard to the agenda, may I have a motion to approve the agenda? And I'm again at a disadvantage. I'm going to see if I can put my screen to have everybody, or maybe get an audible on a motion.
Peter,
do I see it? Dawn, wonderful, thank you. And how about a seconder? Leslie, thank you. And all in favor? Looking, Abby, Galen, Tony, Dawn, Peter, wonderful, thank you. So that motion has passed. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn things over to our secretary, Abby McKinnon, for item 3. If your voice is in order, Abby, I know you've been under the weather.
Thank you very much, Peter. And yes, my apologies. I have the RSV, so if I sound like I'm in a tunnel, please ignore. Are we going to be projecting the 2021 minutes on the screen as well, or should I? Apologies.
Apologies, I do not have those to project.
Oh, no. Here, let me just quickly. I have them on my end. I just have to quickly get them in Zoom ready here. Apologies.
You can send them to Alex if that's easier. Is that easier, Abby?
I'm sorry?
I can send them to Alex. I know I sent them earlier to Ali. I apologize. I didn't send them to you, Alex. Is that easier, Abby, or you're okay?
Sure, that might be easier. I don't have I was just opening my email, so it might be a second or two quicker.
Did we want to this thing? I don't have them in front of me, but I can find it. Maybe we can defer for that guy. Are we close to?
Yeah, I just sent them. Did you get them, Alex?
Yeah, I'm just opening them up now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in fact, it'd be great to send those out to ideally to everybody on the call if we could in an email, both the minutes from the last meeting, the agenda, as well as the financial statements, if we could, please.
Yeah, Ali, I did ask for that, but I'm not sure. Are you there, Ali? If you saw my message. Also, just to let everyone know, the AGM report will be going out to you all tomorrow. It's just being finished, and it has everything included: the auditor report, the minutes from last year, the draft minutes, everything. So I'll just check with Ali about the other stuff. Okay, thank
you. Here, maybe what I'll do just to be. So how about I do this? Can you all see that?
Yes.
Abby, can you see the minutes?
Yes, I could see.
Okay, so do you want to just let me know if you want me to scroll or roll through?
Sure, yes. Thank you, Peter. So apologies again for the delay, everyone. Please see please see here the beginning of the 2021 minutes from last year's AGM. Please let me know if there are any questions or comments or edits or inaccuracies to amend.
And I know for board members that these had been sent out actually some time ago, so I know that it shouldn't be as brand new for board members, but we'll certainly make sure to get those out.
Yes, this might be a bit of a refresher for some of you who've been with us for a little bit longer. I believe they were originally sent out in January or February.
Yeah. Okay, well then I'm going to I'll stop sharing and see if we can withstand a motion based on that, then that'll be wonderful.
I will put forth a motion to approve the 2021 minutes.
Second
Do I-
motion.
Seconder?
Peter, second.
Well, sure.
All in favor?
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you. So that one has passed. Wonderful. Thanks so much. And again, we'll make sure that that those are, if not sent out today, but we'll make sure that's in the package for that'll go out tomorrow. So now, keeping an eye on the agenda, why don't I turn things over to our wonderful executive director, Kathleen Cummings, who's going to do a long service award.
Hi, so unfortunately, Brian, who is our long service reciprocant, can't be here this evening because he's doing a dad's program. Anyway, Brian has been with St. Mary's Home for 20 years, which is absolutely incredible. And this is a beautiful certificate that's been made for him, and we gave him a gift. And so he's been the CAPC Young Fathers Program Coordinator and in the more recent years, support counselor as well, because the position got split. And so I would like to publicly thank him for his ongoing dedication, passion, and commitment to St. Mary's Home. He has seen the agency go through so much. We're 20 years in operation this year, and he's been there for most of it, which is phenomenal. So thank you, Brian, if you see this tape afterwards, the video afterwards, for your ongoing commitment, hard work, supporting the team and young parents and pregnant and parenting youth in our community. You're a real gem, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And I guess what a wonderful sign of Brian's dedication that can't be here to accept the award because Brian's doing what Brian does best, and that's helping our clients. So again, thanks so much. In 20 years, such an amazing milestone, and I think a great testament to how great a place St. Mary's Home is to work. So thank you for that, and especially great to see the recognition that goes along with that. So thank you very much, Kathleen. Very, very, very helpful. So we'll move along to item 5, and again, very pleased that we're joined by Jordan Malone, who's a partner at Baker Tilly Ottawa LLP, who's going to be presenting the audited financial statements, and of course we've completed our financial year sometime now from March 31st, 2002. So I'll and I just note procedurally that the members had the board had already reviewed and approved the financial statements at our November meeting, but certainly a separate and a necessary opportunity today to give an overview, at least, of the statements. And great to have Jordan here as well.
Thank you, Peter. Is somebody available to share the statements on screen? And while you bring it up, I could start, but oh, perfect. That was quick. Thank you. So I'm here today to present the March 31st, 2022 financial statements. I cover it at a fairly high level, but I am available to answer any questions you have. So before I start, I just want to mention that the audit went very well. So thank you to Kathleen and her team for having everything ready, and the board for all their help in approving. So this page is the page after the index. If you're following along off screen, it's our audit report that we attach to your financial statements. It does mention that the report is qualified, but it's qualified just related to donations. This is very standard for many charitable organizations. What that means is we audit everything that's in your records in relation to donations, but we cannot audit what potentially is not in your records. From everything else in the audits, it's an unqualified opinion, meaning your statements are free of material misstatements and reflect your year of operations. So moving to page 3 of the financial statements. Sorry, one more page. I think we lost the statements, but do you want me to continue without them, or?
Yes, sorry about that. I
Oh.
am just trying to pull it back up.
No problem. Sometimes I can't tell if it's me or everyone.
Did we want to maybe, Alex, is everything okay, or do you want to just proceed?
Sorry, if we could proceed.
Yep, I can proceed. And if you have a copy along with you, I'll just highlight what page we're on. So page 3 is a statement of financial position. It's a snapshot of your organization on one day, which is your year end, March 31st. If you're following along, you can see everything on the top half of the black line are your assets, which are items of value to St. Mary's Home. And everything below that, I see it again, the black line is your liabilities and net assets. So everything that potentially you owe. So focusing on cash, you can see it did increase by 300,000 from 780 to just over $1 million. And there's 3 main factors that led to that increase. One, you had a surplus of 138,000 for the year, which we'll cover shortly. Your accounts receivable, your accounts payable increased by $100,000. So that means expenses that you incurred up till March 31st, but paid for after March 31st increased, which increases your cash at March 31st. And you also increased your deferred contributions by 80,000, which those 3 make up your increase in cash. You can see in the middle, the tangible capital assets of 760,000. This is your land and building for 2 locations. And in relation to that, closer to the bottom, you can see there's an amount called deferred capital grants and contributions in bold of 391. And this is funding you receive towards those capital items, which is almost half. So that funding is recognized at the same rate those capital assets are over time. I mentioned before the accounts payable and accrued liabilities increased. The main reason for that increase was timing of payments around year end, mostly relating to some roof cost roofing. You could see the other item to highlight, deferred capital contributions, the one not in bold, 153,000 compared to 71. The 71 in 2021 related to COVID funding, which has all been spent and earned in 2022. The 153 is new funding mainly related to capital items. So if there's no, you can stop me anytime. If there's no questions, I'll move to the page 4. Page 4 is a statement of changes in net assets, which increases mainly because of your surplus. The increase is 138,000. The two main funds that you have are your unrestricted net assets, which the board or management can spend as they wish in following your missions. But then the invested in capital assets are money that's already been spent on those capital assets and will decrease over time as they amortize. So that funds have already been accounted for.
Jordan, it's
Yep.
Dawn. I'm sharing my screen, so you just let me know when to move the pages and I can advance them.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Don. So we will move now to page 5. So this page is the statement of operations. It's everything that happened during your fiscal year. So focusing on just a few highlights of bigger changes in revenue, you can see that in 2022, there was $58,000 for temporary wage enhancement. This was a temporary COVID measure that was in place. It's no longer available for 2023. So this is one-time funding. The other main difference is your per diem. You can see it's 261,000 in 2021, and it fell to 89,000 in 2022. This is a direct relation to occupancy rates. So that impacts the funding you receive for per diems. Looking at your expenses closer to the bottom, the majority of your expenses are your salaries, benefits, and contracts. But another decrease not as big as your repairs and maintenance just above it. So repairs and maintenance overall, likely we're actually in line with 2021, about 143,000, but some of them in 2022 were capital in nature. So they go to the balance sheet instead of the expense. So overall, both your revenue and expenses decreased, but you still had $138,000 surplus this year. So unless there's any questions, I will continue to the statement of cash flows. So this statement is a reconciliation of your bank account. On the first page, I kind of highlighted the 3 main reasons for the change, but you can see at the top, it starts with your $138,000 surplus, and towards the bottom, you can see the cash increased by 300,000. And again, the majority of it comes to the increase of AP, accounts payable, sorry, increase of deferred contributions, and somewhat offset by your $76,000 of purchasing capital assets. So moving to page 7, this is the start for the next 3 pages of your accounting policies. Overall, there are no new accounting policies added. There's no policy that is unusual for a not-for-profit organization. So unless there's any questions, I will continue to page 10. So one more page. And so page 10, starting on note 2, are just additional notes to give more support to both of your
Sorry,
statements.
Jordan,
Yep.
I'm on my document says page 11. Oh, so you know what? I'm looking at my screen. So your page 10 is this one.
Yeah, it always adds 2 pages just because of the audit report, but
Yeah, I'm just looking at the top screen where it says page 12. I'm so
oh,
sorry.
sorry, no problem.
No,
Thank
no, okay, I see it now.
Thanks.
We're good. Yeah, sorry.
No, probably that's the right spot. So these are notes just to give more support to both the statement of financial position and statement of operations. I just want to highlight a few. Note 2, what you're on, if you scroll down a bit more, there's just wording there. So included in your capital assets this year, you do have $48,000 of assets which they're still being developed, so they're not in use. Because they're not in use, they're not being amortized, but they are included in that funding or in those funds. On the next page, note 3, I just want to highlight that's the use of funds, the deferred contributions. All the COVID funding has been received and spent during the year. And then on page 12 on the statements, 14, I guess, on the screen, note 8. I just want to highlight, this is a fairly generically worded note, and I guess COVID, the pandemic's over, but there's still some concern. So this note just highlights the fact that there is still potential risk to your organization as COVID continues, but that risk is unknown. So it's just there to highlight that potential risk, but hopefully there's no impact. And the rest of the statements are just additional supplementary information to break down your funding. So if I'll stop for any questions at this point.
Thank you so much, Jordan. It's always wonderful to to see our own financials through an auditor's expert eyes, and beyond just the fact that it seems like a positive a picture overall. But certainly curious if there's any questions. I'm going to try to get myself onto a way that I can see everybody. But I think the most I can do, let's see, what if I make that bigger? Oh, there, look, ooh, look, people. There we go. So if you've got any questions, please use the hand feature, and I'll see if I can get that going. And then I'll see a little golden box, or manual hands are good as well. Any questions, clarifications required? Again, I think overall a positive picture, and again, even looking off into the next performance period, we do have some things we aspire to be able to do around the real estate side of things that may benefit from those reserved funds. But any questions, clarification? Jordan, again, very if anything, it's probably just reflective of how well we've run through things. So certainly do appreciate that, and of course it's so helpful for not only the organization but our stakeholders and partners to have that good clean picture of our financial situation and statements. And again, we'll have this full documentation available to everybody if it hasn't gone out already. And I do note that we have already we would have approved this at a recent board meeting. So unless there were any questions, and I'm just don't see any hands, then I guess we'll leave it at again, a wonderful relationship with Baker Tilly, and I know from Kathleen and the team, certainly wonderful reporting out on just on a good positive professional relationship. So that's just great to hear. And again, thank you, especially you personally, Jordan, for your leadership on that.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Wonderful, thank you. So yes, so that's good, very good. In fact, and again, noting that and as you'll hear in Kathleen's executive director report, certainly while we have remained completely and fully open, delivering our services through the heat, literally, of the pandemic. Obviously, certain parts of our business have been impacted, but again, with as well some wonderful offsets where necessary with grants and otherwise. But we can get into that in a little more detail if required a little later on. And of course, it is the intention of St. Mary's to continue through the next fiscal year with Baker Tilly Ottawa LLP as our auditor, and of course that would require a motion at the AGM. So may I indeed have a motion to approve Baker Tilly as our auditor for the next fiscal year? Looking for Leslie, thank you, and a seconder. Kaylin, wonderful, and all in favor. That'd be wonderful. Don, good, awesome, wonderful. Well, thank you. That motion has passed, so thank you very much. And again, looking forward to another great season leading up to our next audit. So with that, I'll turn things over to Kathleen Cummings. Again, I can never mention enough how great it is to work with Kathleen, and maybe to give us all a picture as to how things have gone in the last year. Over to you, Kathleen.
Hi. So yeah, it's been another challenging year with COVID, another exceptional year, and I have to say, though, it's also been an incredible privilege to work with everybody and to see people learning and growing and adapting and pivoting with the, constant challenges, and see, at times where people would, kind of bow down to them, actually seeing them as opportunities to learn and grow as we've navigated our way through the ever-changing COVID landscape. So I have to say, I feel very lucky and privileged to work with so many incredible people that, can look at the glass not just as half full, but as refillable. And so anyway, despite the many challenges, our dedicated team has continued to work tirelessly and remaining committed to the mission and vision and value of the St. Mary's Home, and respond quickly and responsively to the needs that have been ever-changing and identified by young participants at our Young Parent Outreach Centre and at our specialized shelter. Programs and services have continued to be expanded and adapted, and provided through a variety of different modes in order to meet the ever-changing needs. So, like, for example, thank you to the support from MCCSS in the last year to really support us in providing Safe Care, which is an evidence-based program to provide 3 different modules of support with people in their homes. And it's been proven to reduce significantly family violence and neglect. And so I really want to say thank you also to our funders at the city, and to our funders with PHAC. And Blanca, I see your name there, so I know you're here, and I already welcome Natalie. It's one thing being able to turn around and pivot and adapt, but not being supported by the sources of funding we get, or being, like bottleneck to be able to move forward and respond quickly. I've seen that, having lived through, TB and HIV epidemics before, that those things can really hinder and harm. And I have to say, we've been very privileged with the funders we have to be able to, pivot and do pilots, and so I'm really grateful, I have to say that. And thank you to our board and all of our wonderful volunteers. Like, I say it every year, and I'll say it again, the greatest gift you can give is your time. And to give your time during what is not being an easy time to volunteer, when everybody has busy schedules and are responding in your own lives to this ever-changing kind of landscape. I just really am grateful to you for doing that. Also thank you to our community partners, who we were very happy to welcome back on site in the last year, and to support kind of that wraparound, and kind of multiple services happening in one place. And we have a number of clinics, and obviously the Achievement Center, and it just feels really wonderful to have our partners back on site, and Rideau would too, of course. To our donors, I see Marion here, and any others that, you know, with IODE, and I'm sure there's other people that will read this report and maybe listen to this meeting. You know, we really so greatly, you know, in a time where a lot of people have been struggling financially, where a lot of people have not been donating, we continue to receive incredible generosity from people. And so thank you so much. I did talk about our staff being such an incredible team and being really responsive. I have to also really do a shout out to our managers and our director. So our managers are Ellen at the residence, and Alex, who's on here, that does our programming, and Sam, who's recently moved into that position, kind of supporting support services, and then Tony, who's our director of operations. It's just you guys have just continued to rise over and over and over and above. And you know, my health hasn't been great the last few months, and you know, it was just so amazing to have people that were just incredible and responsive and there, and I really appreciate it. I have to say thank you to our participants whose determination and strength and resilience and tenacity are always such an inspiration to me. I continue to just learn all the time, and you know, I'm so happy that we're able to have we continued our programs and services through COVID throughout the whole pandemic. We just, you know, had to be very creative and create, you know, staffing bubbles so that if one person, you know, became infected, that you know, we didn't have to kind of like stop a whole team from working. And then we also created things like play pods and different ways to have families come together and be able to engage safely alongside of each other, even though they weren't next to each other. And I do really believe that that has affected child development in a positive way. But yeah, I just so happy now that we've got our dining room back open, doing nutritional programs with people eating together, and I get down there whenever I can, because I just it's the life and breath of the agency. So yeah, I look forward to hopefully next year we can have this meeting in person and you can see what I mean. And anyone in the meantime, if you want to come for a tour or come and visit us, we're very, very happy to do that anytime that you want to come. So yeah, this year again, like I said, we've displayed multiple opportunities to learn, you know, the glass half full and refillable. You know, we actually achieved accreditation. And again, thank you, Tony, for leading that. And at the operational level, it was phenomenal. And thank you to all of our staff and managers and team and the board for making that happen. It's definitely something to be proud of. And so we're accredited again as a child and youth mental health agency through the Canadian Centre for Accreditation. Definitely not even an easy task at the best of times, but almost insurmountable during the environment being in. And, you know, I have to thank Ali too. You know, she isn't a member of the leadership team, but definitely works as if she is. The level of commitment and passion is phenomenal. And anyway, so despite all the challenge, we have continued to provide essential services and respond to our community, and you know, which demonstrates what makes it St. Mary's Home so special. And that's all the people who come together to make up our community. So thank you to each and every one of you. In ending, I'd like to just say, like to ask you to join me in remembering our past executive director, Nancy McNider, who sadly passed away this year. So yeah, for those of you that know her, she was a strong, inspirational person who worked passionately with young families for 33 years at St. Mary's Home. And so yeah, please let's honor her. And even though she may be gone, she's never going to be forgotten, and her legacy will continue to inspire me. Sorry, I always get emotional, don't I? I'm sorry, I just isn't. But I really care about St. Mary's Home, and I really care about everybody that makes this place so special. It really is a special place. And so thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And again, your passion always has a way of leaking out, and that's just wonderful. And again, thank you for honoring Nancy, and as well as giving such a great picture as to our funders especially, and to our supporters as to the impact that's made felt there. Any questions just before I move on? Any questions on anything Kathleen might have mentioned? Anything for clarification? Again, please go down to the on your bottom screen there to the reactions and the raise hand button. That'd be a great way to catch you. But if not, we can have a chance at the end as well. But thank you so much for that, Kathleen, and certainly as president of the board, it's just always an honor and a pleasure to work with you. And from the perspective of my report, certainly obviously a lot of echoing. Some of the themes as we celebrate our 2022 annual general meeting, and I was looking back, in fact, over 3 last AGMs with reference to at least 3 of the reporting periods into a pandemic. So of course we have a continued COVID-19 pandemic. It affects every one of us, and especially a frontline service organization whose mandate is to support and care for the youngest and most vulnerable and young families is quite compelling. And of course, while boosters are available with impressive rates of vaccination in the community, the pandemic continues to create stress and anxiety, especially for those who are most vulnerable. And this stress and anxiety can be a growing burden, and we're very mindful of the need for access to services and programs, to reduce isolation, to reduce depression, address anxiety. And of course, we also continue to closely monitor the situation in Ottawa and the surrounding region, and something that the board has always kept apprised of. And of course, always grateful to all the levels of public health for the direction and leadership that they're providing to inform our activities and services, including the difficult decision to hold this year's AGM in a virtual setting. But of course, one that reflects the continued challenge in delivering our mandate in really challenging times. And as you read the annual report, you'll learn about the passionate team of volunteers, staff, partners, donors, supporters who share a common goal to build on the strengths of young pregnant women and young parents and their children. And of course, learn so much about tremendous efforts that have been taken to pivot, to fill gaps in service, which again is incredible in a pandemic context, that these gaps and this need to pivot just come up really, really quickly in certain cases. Kathleen would have mentioned that significant among these efforts in this past year was the renewal of St. Mary's Home accreditation through the Canadian Centre for Accreditation, and that approval is through to May 31st, 2026, which is give us some wonderful runway. Not to be static. We obviously still have to respond, and we've got a lot to commit to. But that just on its own, that accreditation program, of course, combines a set of organizational standards covering areas such as governance, organizational planning and performance, leadership, risk management, and program and service modules that are relevant to different areas of service. So I know that certainly for the board and for staff, and thank you, Kathleen, for commending the staff, and particularly Tony, who is quite a lead in and around that, and then of course similarly within the board overall, but of course our accreditation committee, and John, the chair of the committee, is here tonight, and again it's wonderful to have Sister Lois here as well, who has had long-standing not only board member and now outgoing board member, but also very involved and engaged in accreditation. So I'm sure Lois, you must be quite proud to know that we achieved that accreditation. And one thing I want to note, that in the final report from the Canadian Centre for Accreditation, and I'm going to quote here, they noted, quote, "A considerable strength at St. Mary's Home is the dedicated, passionate staff team who work from a strengths-based and trauma-informed approach, grounded in robust agency, committed to strengthen and build on the personal resilience of each individual." Close quote. And it was clear to the reviewers that the staff really feel appreciated, supported, and I'm going to use quotes here that quote, "their voices matter," and that they quote, "feel privileged to work here." So again, those are such heartening words, of course, to hear anytime, let alone in the context of an external third-party objective review. And of course, we're so fortunate to have such a great team. And of course, with that accreditation as a foundation, we have just a wonderful, indeed, I call it a bounty, in the sense that those of you who are with accredited organizations, or who may in fact be accreditors, be reviewers, would know that the policy expectations just continue to grow, and this is in a good way, in the sense that it could have been in the past having something reflected in a bylaw was okay, whereas now we would have had a requirement to additionally have that reflected in a policy. So just when I look at the, I refer to it respectfully as the bounty of a lot of the new policy procedural documents, board work plans, things that we've been striving to achieve anyway, are things that now we have to achieve in order to maintain and sustain that accreditation. So a lot of that work really gives us a strong roadmap for strategic planning and for governance and the operational plan for the year ahead. So just really a considerable accomplishment. And again, thank you to all involved who've had a hand in that. And of course, with an eye to the future, we also continue work to consider the development potential of St. Mary's Home's considerable real estate holdings. For those of you who are familiar with the residents and at 659 Rue de l'Église and at the center at 780, most recently through a wonderful partnership with a planning and design firm in Ottawa called Foten Planning and Design, they were able to put together some development scenarios and proposals that would give us a sense as to what might be with engagement of municipal and provincial planning and bylaws and procedures. What might we be able to achieve in terms of some development scenarios, not only to satisfy our requirements, but indeed to be able to satisfy additional requirements, to be able to amplify the social good that we are convinced that we can get out of what for a relatively modest organization we are blessed with just a wonderful and with fee simple interest, no mortgage, etc. So we do have that not to use without thinking, but something that we certainly, as part of our forward planning and our strategic planning, we're certainly looking to again to maximize the good and indeed the social good that can come out of that. So certainly more to report on that, but we have had some wonderful work and a great foundation there going forward. And so maybe in closing, and I'm so fortunate, of course, to chair a board of directors with volunteer directors who are so dedicated and so giving of their time and energy. And again, just looking across the screen here, Lois and Abby and Kaylin and Dawn and Leslie and of course, we had our former board president and chair, Chris Hughes, was on for a bit. It was wonderful to see Chris. Those of you who've had a chance to engage with Chris, just an absolutely wonderful human being, and indeed the one who's complicit with bringing me onto this particular board some years ago. And so again, I do want to signal my great appreciation for the ongoing support and the caring for those who we serve in the community, both from a staff perspective and from a board perspective and from a volunteer perspective. So that's just wonderful. So let's looking forward to 2023. Of course, let's continue to support each other, and most importantly, to ensure that those who are finding out that they are pregnant are not so alone and not alone, and are able to focus on the hope and promise for the future. And again, that reaches out to the families and the individuals involved. And again, knowing that Brian, our award-winning Brian, is actually doing one of those very programs to provide that support. So I just wanted to offer that and share that as just a bit of a report from the perspective of the president and chair. And I may have been some things I mentioned that may need some clarification. Any questions, comments, des questions, des commentaires? N'hésitez pas de les poser dans la langue de votre choix, if you'd like. But again, that my report will be included in the annual report. So don't worry, you'll be able to see that. I may have ad-libbed a little, but I think I was keeping to script, so that's wonderful and appreciated. So why don't we turn then to just keeping an eye on the agenda, keep things to turn to item 9, and for those keeping track with the clock, although I always hate to be too optimistic about the schedule, but we are 12 minutes ahead of schedule, which is wonderful. Outgoing board members, and again, it's wonderful to have Lois here, in particular, Sister Lois Mayhew, who's one of the sisters of the Les Filles de la Sagesse, which is one of Ottawa's venerable orders. And as much as St. Mary's Home prepares to celebrate 90 years of foundation of our as a life-giving organization, of course, we wouldn't be here without Les Filles de la Sagesse. Just an absolute wonderful and ongoing support of so many kinds of providing a venue for graduation ceremonies in the building, or just having board representation, and of course all kinds of support over the years. Financial support over the years has been invaluable, and again we wouldn't have St. Mary's without that wonderful support from Les Filles de la Sagesse. So again, as one of the outgoing board members, Sister Lois worked just tirelessly, both as a board member as well as on committees, including in particular the accreditation committee. So again, a big thanks to Sister Lois for your leadership and commitment. It's great to see you here today. And I also want to recognize Fernando Santos as well, who wasn't able to join us today, but did serve as a board member and as well as the chair of the fundraising committee. And one of the great things that we can get when we have board members who move on is a commitment to continue as a volunteer. And so I'm very pleased that Fernando, in particular, who has a professional interest in real estate and sustainable design and development, is quite keen to be continuing on in a volunteer capacity to help with committee work. So and again, we do have some other former board members as well who are still engaged in committees and in the background, which is wonderful. So we always want to take that opportunity to thank Lois. And I know we did have an opportunity at again a recent board member meeting to send some love and some cheer, and so again, and it's great to have you here, Lois. And I don't know if you wanted I guess two words, if I had to synthesize and summarize Lois into 2 words. The first one would be wisdom, and the second one would be laughter. And Lois just always seemed to bring just a wonderful balance of wisdom. Lois's hand would go up and there would be quiet, because Lois just always has insightful things to say. So I wouldn't want to keep Lois from having an opportunity, if you'd like, maybe just to say a few words, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but here I am putting you on the spot. Anything you'd want to share, Lois?
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter, and all the staff, Kathleen, Tony. Interestingly, I passed by St. Mary's today. I was supposed to share my nursing experience with the clients today, but unfortunately, some babies were sick and some mothers were sick. But I did bring a little gift of knitted goods for the babies and mothers. And it will be a pleasure for me to pass by St. Mary's either on my bike or on my skis. So thanks again for your kind words, Peter and Kathleen, and I'm not very far, I'll pass by.
Wonderful, thanks so much, Lois. And again, for those of you who know the area, of course, Lois and the rest of the Sisters Les Filles are literally just up the road from St. Mary's, so that's just a wonderful. So with that, we'll turn to item 10 on the agenda, and the nominating committee report. As I'd mentioned earlier, our bylaws allow us to have, in fact, require us to have 12 board members, and of course, as many of us who are involved in either volunteer capacity or in other boards know, COVID has had an impact on a number of things, including just the availability of just time and focus for volunteers, let alone volunteer board members. members, and I'm so sort of overwhelmed with the commitment that we have. We do have currently we have 6 board members who are in good standing and returning. And as I mentioned, with both Sister Lois and Fernando retiring, and will be standing for re-election. And I do note that Kaylin Hudson joined the board since last year. I was actually had to go into the minutes from last year to note that both Dawn and Cheryl were actually brought in to board right at the very last AGM. So this makes board recruitment a big priority focus for the coming year. And again, I'd always want to take an opportunity with the wonderful group of partners and stakeholders here today to note that we do have listings up on Charity Village, and something that we're looking to do as well. And additionally is to increase the diversity of our board and try to find ways to reach out to communities and parts of the community where we might not have the type of outreach that we do need, so that we can be more representative of that community. So I would welcome any advice, any either encouragement or spreading the word, just as to the important work that St. Mary's does, and again, whether that's in a volunteer capacity or in a board member capacity or other capacity. Many hands certainly make light work, but I do just want to take this opportunity to commend again my fellow board members, Leslie, Abby, and Cheryl, Dawn, and Kaylin. But certainly that will the 1, 2, 5, 6 that we would have now, of course, with me serving as president, Leslie as vice president, Abby serving as secretary, Cheryl as interim treasurer, Dawn as chair of the accreditation committee, and Kaylin, who of course will be, we do have with some retirements, we do have to take a look at the composition and leadership of our boards, of our committees, and always mindful as well that I think well-functioning committees need not only be composed of board members, and that's again a very important consideration. So in all of that, you know where to find me, you know where to find Kathleen if you've got any ideas. But of course, procedurally, going to the next period, of course, presenting the slate of board members for the next year. Of course, that would be, as I mentioned, myself, Leslie Ray Farad, Abigail McKinnon, Cheryl Fillion, Don Wilson, and Kaylin Hudson. And so while I guess technically speaking, we'd all have to declare a conflict for this, but nonetheless, we'll still do a motion. May I have a motion to approve this slate of board of directors? Oh, I see Abby, great. A seconder? Leslie, great. All in favor? Wonderful. Thank you very much. That motion is passed. And again, thank you all for your commitment, and certainly looking forward to a wonderful year. And as I mentioned, especially for those who maybe haven't been as close to our accreditation journey, just so much I'll say untapped wonderful work, procedural procedural space, policy space that we need to be sinking our teeth into in terms of strategic planning and otherwise. So a lot we have lying ahead into new year, but with the great comfort of just knowing that we've achieved, in particular, that accreditation is just, I think, leaves us in quite good stead. So this wraps up the official portion of our annual general meeting, and again, we also will certainly adjourn the business portion of the meeting and call the AGM to a close. But I'd certainly want to have an opportunity for those who are here. If you have any questions, comments, des questions, des commentaires, please don't hesitate to raise them now or put them in the chat if there's things that we could be following up on. And we always want to make sure that we're keeping our connection to the community and our partners and as open as possible. But I just so want to create that opportunity now. If you'd like and have any questions, please share, raise hand. But other than that, we will be sending out the full package of materials. And again, thanks to Eli and Tony and the team, and Alex especially today. Thank you for just going around the staff for facilitating things today, as well as any of the other staff. I'm seeing again. I've lost the view of my full view, but thank you so much to Kathleen and the St. Mary's Home staff for facilitating today's annual general meeting. And again, unless there were any questions, comments, I don't know, Kathleen, any parting words to send us off into the night?
Unlike Lois, I don't have very much wisdom, but I just wish everybody good health and your families and your loved ones. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And much happiness.
Yes. Well, wonderful. Well, again, thank you very much for your time. I know we certainly value the opportunity to share some of the story from the last year in terms of our journey and narrative. And so I hope this was a helpful program for you. And again, you'll be receiving the full package of information will be coming out. So again, with that, I do want to thank you all, and I'm just doing a quick last scan for any golden hands or waving hands. Not seeing any. I will give you all then the gift, the most wonderful gift, and that's the gift of time. So please spend it well. Hug family and take care of everybody. And if you're getting through a household of sickness, I wish you well as well. I know that that's touching so many of us. And again, if anything, I think it hopefully validates our difficult decision to not be doing this particular meeting in person. But again, this is the reality we're in. And I do wish you all well, and I'll wish you a wonderful 2023, and look forward to seeing you in person in 2023.